Y'all, I'm back today with a video that I'm going to be doing for a series on common JavaScript whiteboarding questions from a list that I found online, and also from what I've been told just from my boot camp and from other developers that I've talked to. So the one I'm going to start off with first is Fizz Buzz, which is a fairly popular whiteboarding question for JavaScript interviews. And for this, basically, all we're doing is we're given a set of numbers. It could be an array. It could just be a numbers 1 through 0, or up to 100, or up to 50, or up to 1,000. Whatever that is. And basically, for each one of those numbers, you just want to check to see if that number is a multiple of something else. Commonly, what they'll ask is a multiple of 3 or 5, or if it's a multiple of both. So, for example, 3 would be a multiple of 3, 5 would be a multiple of 5, 15 would be a multiple of 15. What we're going to be using for this is a for loop, the JavaScript modular operator, and also then just a standard function, console log, all that kind of good stuff there. And basically, we're just going to take whatever that number is that they told us to count up to, and just check for each of those to see if they're a multiple of 3 or 5. And then we're going to return the word fizz for any number that's a multiple of 3. We're going to return the word buzz for any number that's a multiple of 5, and we're going to return fizz buzz for any number that's a multiple of both 3 and 5. And I'm also just going to make an extra statement there as well, so that the number is 0, it's going to come out as just the word 0. And then if it's neither 0, or if it's not 0, nor is it a multiple of 3, 5, or 3 and 5, then it will just return the number itself. So to get started, I've already kind of taken an HTML file here, and I just did the basic HTML boilerplate, and I'm just going to do some script tags in here. Instead of doing it in a separate file, just wrote the comment here so we kind of know what we're doing, and then just started with the basic function here, and then we'll start the actual meat of the function right now. So to get started with that, we're going to start off with a for loop. So most of y'all are probably familiar with the for loop, but if you're not, basically what we're doing here is we're just setting a initial variable, commonly that's going to be I, but it could be anything. It could be let number, let any other variable name. Just for the sake of convention, we're going to use I here. And then you're saying we're going to set that to 0 initially, and then we're going to say as long as I is, in this case, less than or equal to something else, right? So if you're using an array, it might be equal to array.length, or if you have a specific number, as we do in this case, and we'll just say for the sake of argument 100. So we'll say as long as I is less than 100, less than or equal to 100, we want it to run. And then what we're going to, whatever we put inside of this for loop, we want that to run. And then every time it runs, it's going to also increment I up. So the first time it would run, I would be at 0, and then it would run whatever it does. Then it would go back to the for loop again. Only this time I would now be 1, and then it would run the for loop again. I would now be 2, so on and so forth, up until we meet whatever this condition is here. So that's a for loop kind of simplified there. And so cool. All right, so in this, what we want to do is we now know we're going to have the numbers basically 0 through 100 that are going to be displayed. So just to kind of show that, I'm going to do a console log here, and we will just console log I. So when I save this, if I come down here, start my live server, and I call the function down here, then as we can see in my console, I have the numbers 0 all the way through 100 here. Cool. Okay, cool. So now we can actually display the numbers 0 through 100. So the next step is going to be to figure out if these numbers are multiples of 3 or 5, and then to, based off of that, instead of returning the number, we want it to now print out either fizz or buzz or fizz buzz. So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to start off here with an if statement. We're just going to say if, and I'm going to start off with just a really simple case here. Say if I is equal to 0, then we want it to just return, or I'm sorry, we want it to console log 0. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a else if And we're going to say if I modulo something is equal to 0. So what the modulo is and this was actually something that was new to me because I did not come from a math background, but basically what it does is it's going to take that, whatever the number I is in this case, it's going to divide that by 3, and then it's going to give back the remainder. So in the case of the number 3, if I divide 3 by 3, it comes back as a remainder of 0. All right, so that's how we can tell if this is a multiple of something. And that's kind of the modulo operator, at least as I understand it. So, and for this purpose, what it's going to do is it's going to just look at any number that's a multiple of 3. It's going to return 0. And then if it's that, we're going to just tell it to now console log Fizz. And then for the sake of time, I'm just going to copy these. And we'll do one down here. And for that, we're going to say buzz. And then we're going to do this. Now, what I'm actually going to do here is it's going to do something a little bit interesting, where it should not work initially when I do this, and we'll explain why. But we'll say also in this case, else if this is equal to, or if the number is multiple of 3 and the number is a multiple of 5, we want it to go ahead and do Fizz Buzz. And then finally, we're going to say else just console log I. So in English, what we're doing here is we're saying, go through, look at all these numbers. For each number, whatever I is at, check to see if the number that is I is equal to 0. If so, say 0. If it is a multiple of 3, say Fizz. If it's a multiple of 5, say buzz. If it's a multiple of 3 and 5, say Fizz Buzz. If it's none of these, then just return the number. All right. So that would be kind of what it's saying in English. But JavaScript actually reads from the top down. So what should happen when I run this is we should get the 0. We should, for number 3, get Fizz. We should, for number 5, get buzz. And that should work. And then everything else should come back as I. However, when we get to 15, which is a number, which is a number that is a multiple of 3 and 5, instead of actually getting the Fizz Buzz, we're going to probably get Fizz. So let's see if I'm right on this. And if we run that, as you can tell, we're not seeing Fizz Buzz anywhere. And again, that's because the way JavaScript reads its code is from the top down. So what's happening is when it hits this first condition that it's being met, it's just going to Fizz, and it's saying, okay, cool. You are a multiple of 3. I'm not even going to bother to look at anything else because you met this condition. I'm going to go ahead and console log Fizz, and then we're just going to go back to the loop again, right? So to fix that, since we want the 15 to actually say Fizz Buzz and not just Fizz, we're going to just cut that. And we are going to put it right here. So now what it's going to do is it's going to first check if the number is 0. Then it's going to check if the number is both a multiple of 3 and 5. Then if it's not that, then it will go to the check if it's multiple of 3, then check if it's multiple of 5, and if it's none of those, then it's going to console log I. And the reason that I can put this here and it's not going to say take 3 is because of this and statement here. So because we say and, it has to meet both of these conditions in order for it to console log Fizz Buzz. So if the number was just 3, it's only going to meet this one condition. It's going to look here and it's going to say, oh, but you're not a multiple of 5, so sorry, go to the next one, and so on. So now we'll save that, and if we run it, we should have, yep, 0, 1, 2, 3, Fizz, 4, 5, buzz, 6, Fizz, 7, 8, 9, so on and so forth, all the way down to 15, Fizz Buzz, and as we can see, it continues all the way down to number 100. So there we go, and that is a really, really basic version of Fizz Buzz. Now, there's a lot of different ways to solve this that I've found. I found some using ternary operators. I found some using switch statements. I saw one that was even done with recursive programming, which I'm not going to get into here. But if you'd like, the source that I found some of these on was, it was called Learn JavaScript With Me. And I'll actually go ahead and just post a link real fast here. Yeah, cool. Here we go. And so the link for that is right here. And I will go ahead and we'll say at this website here. So if you want to find some additional solutions, like I said, alternative ways of doing this that don't involve just for loop and the if else if statements, this would be an interesting resource to go check out, because like I said, they had some additional solutions on there as well, and they talked about Big O and how the different solutions can be more or less efficient from a Big O standpoint. So again, that's all stuff that you can look at if you want to, but this is just a really basic way to solve Fizz Buzz as I was initially taught when I was going through school. So yeah, so I hope you found that informative, guys, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you, and have a great one. Bye-bye.